Hello, is it? Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, okay. Little technical stuff going on. And hello, welcome back to Ether. This is Satomi and Paul from Sakasa.ca. And then this week, again, we have this special guest, Anna from BC.
From Awakened.
From Awakened, yes. And BC.
From BC.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh. So I'll let you guys start because I missed the last week.
Mhm.
And you guys go ahead and lead.
Yeah, we're
And
still
I'll
on this. Yeah, we're still on the same subject, basically. Just kind of a little bit slightly different wording here, making the impossible inevitable. So it's basically what is it that takes us out of that that place where we want to be, healed, achieving, all that kind of stuff, where that's been frustrating for so long, and you're just beating your head against the wall. You're trying everything, it doesn't work. How does that then switch to where you're actually achieving, making progress, moving forward, and beyond that, there's this element that Anna pointed out in some really, really great insights she was sharing about how that actually becomes inevitable at a certain point. And I can't help but agree with her. And that's what this conversation's been about up till now. And I just wanted to give her, so she did a proper introduction here. Anna, our honored guest here again for the third week in a row. She's a trooper. She's a transformational coach, and she is got many talents. She's a medium, counselor, holistic life coach, sports nutritionist, personal trainer, Reiki Master, and all-around awesome soul. Very powerful and just a wonderful friend of ours here. So we're honored to have her as our guest once again. And you can find her, just as I was saying, at AwakenedYou.ca. I'll talk later about the promotion she's got. And as always, questions and comments are welcome on the show here. It enhances the conversation. We can talk about your thing if you throw up a question for us, and that can help you move forward. So please jump in. It's always welcome. Or just say hi. That's great too. So I'll just do a really super brief recap here. We talked about how when you hit rock bottom, there's gonna be a change that happens in some sense, right? And that doesn't mean necessarily like an addiction rock bottom. That can be just like your health has just been too much to deal with.
Yeah.
And
We're fighting for
the mouse. I'm right-handed, and I'm on the right side, even though the screen is reversed here. I'm right-handed, but I've switched myself to left for mouse. It's the only thing I'm left-handed for. But that's on the other side of Satomi, so she's fighting for it. So anyway, so it can be like, rock bottom can be just, your relationship is just not functional anymore. You need to make a change, right? There can be so many different things what that rock bottom can mean, or that you've had enough, with your career, like I was saying, your health, your relationships, all that kind of stuff, or just your coping mechanisms aren't cutting it anymore, and then something suddenly clicks, is what we talked about previously. There's something shifts, and there's a new way that somehow is calling to you. A new something is calling to you. Your potential is calling to you, and you've suffered enough. And that's, for me, that's the kind of that's been my process, to move forward. Is that I've tried the other stuff so long that it's just been beating me up so much that I can't do that anymore. And I know that is something that other people do as well. There may be other ways that you kind of, and that's kind of like the rock bottom as well. But there's for me, it's been my stubbornness, trying things my way, a certain way that I prefer to do things, whatever that is, however dysfunctional that may be, I keep trying it, but then something shifts in me and I'm ready to do it differently than I used to. I get, somehow the stubbornness gives up. And I think that's what you're referring to a little bit as well, Anna, about the click coming. Spirit might be calling to you, whatever the case may be. You may have some synchronicity happen in your life. We didn't talk about that one, I don't think. It's another interesting angle. But you may have a really powerful dream, whatever the case may be. Something shifts in your life. You can have a life circumstance change as well that really necessitates that the old way doesn't really cut it. Anger, frustration that comes up. How do you use it constructively? We talked about that in the previous episodes. And how do you overcome limiting beliefs? And we talked about subconscious shift work, that kind of thing. The part of you that's calling you to face the fear so you can change, right? We talked about that. You have, there's a choice to stay, but something has been taken away. So the question is, has something been taken away, or are you simply determined to change? As we talked about that one as well, which is really interesting. So go back to the previous episodes if you're curious about these particular things. I'm not going to go in detail here. We're going to move forward with the conversation. Let's see here. And maybe I'm getting ahead. I'm not sure. But what we'll do is we'll go straight into that particular question that we want to focus on next, which is that how do you go into that change, or that new way of doing things, that new path, when there's so many belief patterns and fear that come up, right? There's resistance that comes up. How do you move past that? How do you grapple with that? Because that fear can be pretty much like practically overwhelming at times, and really undercut your that desire to move forward, and really be pulling you to stay where you are. How do you work through that? Is a big part of this. Anna, did you want to jump in here and talk a little bit about that, and we can just sort of go where the conversation goes here?
Yeah, for sure. Well, the number one thing would be go see someone like you or myself, right? Go to a practitioner, because they can help move and process that along. But I think where I'm being guided to let this conversation go is, what do we do when we're not seeing the practitioners? Because I don't know, in my change, there's many times where these things come up, and in the moment I wish I had a session, or I could just reach out and have this shift in the moment, but that's not feasible. And nor do I think that it's where we're meant to be, because we're also our own self-healers, right? And so where can we, or how can we take the tools that we have and use them in the moments where we're not, seeing someone or being with a healer? And so, in my life, I've had lots of shifts and lots of fears come up in there. And there have been amazing tools that I have learned along the way. And I think the biggest takeaway is that when these things come up, I set the intention that they're coming up so I can let them go. And how can I move into a space where I'm allowing them to process, allowing them to surface, allowing them to be released, yet not getting stuck in them? Like, that's not my story. That's not where I want to make my decisions. That's not where I want to function. It's just coming up to be let go. And yeah, so finding those tools, like journaling, EFT has been a big one for me, emotional freedom technique. Sometimes just, asking my body what it needs. And if, specifically the anger comes up, I've hit my pillow on my bed just to release that energy, and then move into a space where you're back within your body, back within your nervous system, in a calm, a calm space. And moving through this process time and time again, as you're just releasing them as they come up, has helped me, not stay stuck in that old belief system, in that old story that had previously been, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like if you're talking about if you're not getting help, right?
Mm-hmm.
The practitioner, and we all of us have some healing power, and it's everybody's healing power is powerful itself,
Yes.
right? But we block that power, and then we disconnect. So how we can connect, so you can start using it, so you can receive some messages, the guidance, right? And clarity is
Right.
one thing that you were talking about is and releasing negative emotion. That is one big block that everybody can easily get.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's going to be in a way big time to connect, right? So releasing anger, releasing frustration, and releasing ego, right? If you're angry at the situation, angry at people who is creating this negative situation, you wouldn't be able to connect to your healing power,
Mm-hmm.
right? First thing is dealing with the anger. There's lots of ways you was hitting a pillow.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that's a great way, and do some exercise, right? Yep. And another one I often recommend to client is write down all the stuff that you are carrying, right? And no limitation. You can use all the bad words, all the swearing or whatever, and you don't need to show anyone this is just for you. So you just automatic writing, right, and you let all out, and instead of holding in, and that's going to be cleansing, right? And once you've done that, and you feel lighter, and then what happened is some clients told me this, like I was able to let go of anger, and after I did practice this exercise, I felt gratitude toward that person, right? Just by doing this automatic writing, and she was feeling gratitude coming up, right? And instead of anger, and that is the sign of connection to your power, right? And then you will receive some guidance. You will see your path more clearly, and those things can happen. But if you are carrying negative emotion, that can't happen. So first thing you want, if you are having anger, frustration, and other one is self-pity, right? Oh, poor me, I'm always end up being in this situation. That's gonna be a big block, right? If you are self-pity and feeling like you're a victim, that is actually a negative energy that is blocking you to connect. You want to deal with it, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's shame and guilt are other big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you release that frustration, anger, self-pity, whatever is going on there in some fashion, and a lot of that can be, like you're saying, the lapel thing, or like there's other ways, techniques that we have, or videos on releasing negative emotions,
Mhm.
or the self-pity. Maybe there's some exercise that can help with that, right?
Mhm.
That kind of thing. You can, once you come down from that emotional storm that's going on, you can gain the clarity to then step back and ask what opportunity is in that situation, right?
Mhm.
So it's a perspective shift that we've talked about in previous videos, that then, if you ask what situation, or sorry, what opportunity is here in the situation. So what can I, I've been frustrated with this and pushing it away because I don't like it, I don't want it. But if I were to just ask this, from a, outside perspective, is there anything I could possibly learn from this? Is there anything that I could gain out of the situation that can help me move forward? Then that can start to unravel the circumstance. It can release the chains that are keeping you in that difficult situation.
Right.
Because our perspective is that there are no problems. That in fact, if you turn those problems upside down, and like we're saying here, look at them from a different perspective, there's actually an opportunity in that situation.
Right.
What it is. As unpleasant as some things are just absolutely tragic and really, really, really hard to deal with. And our heart goes out to people who are in those situations. But there is always an opportunity, no matter what it is.
There's some this whatever the situation in is actually pointing the lesson that you can learn, right? The fear, you are afraid of something. That fear is actually pointing. This is where you can learn the lesson, that important lesson, right? So instead of avoiding and running away from it, you use a little bit courage, and look at from different angle, and then find a way to face the fear, because that is most of the time it's the important lesson waiting for you.
So you brought it back to fear here, which is the key question,
and that's
that you
covered
what's
last week.
well, no,
Okay.
there's more to go into,
But
the fear has many masks, and anger is one of them. If you look underneath, when you're trying to analyze the situation and ask about the opportunity, there is underneath every aspect of anger, there's always fear behind it. There's something you're afraid of, some bad situation you're trying to avoid. So that's why you're getting angry, because that anger is like a motivation it's like pushing you to control the situation and to change it, because you don't want that bad thing to happen, right? So you're angry at that person and you express that and you say, hey, don't do that, right? Because you don't want that thing to happen, right? So that's why you end up with those negative emotions like that. Sadness is also fear, because you're sad of something bad that's happened before, about how that can happen again or keep happening to you, right? So there's different masks on that fear, and that helps you drill down into it. So then that when you're looking at fear, there you mentioned courage, right? And I know, Anna, you were talking about this, how you have inside you this strong core, right? Something is there that's not there's an aspect of you that's coming into the situation, that's part of you wherever you go, and it's coming through in this situation, that is being revealed, that is not the fear, right? Something that's stronger, something that's more genuine and more coming from, I would say it's, from the sound of it, I would say it's more your authentic self, right? So how would you characterize that, Anna? Like that strong core in you? What's your experience with that?
Well, because I kept asking myself, I'm like, what happened? Like, this shift, this click, right, that I've been experiencing. It's happened multiple times in my life. Why? First off, why now? But where is that coming from, and why? Essentially, how do I know that I'm moving? Well, we're always moving forward, but how do I know that I'm this big shift has occurred, and that I'm now moving in the shift of following my soul's path versus an avoidance or a fear, or that is the motivator behind it. And what I've noticed is that whenever I've been moving towards something kind of from a more fear-based place, first off, if I really ask myself, I'm doing this because I'm avoiding going, looking over here. And it kind of translates, Paul, into what you were saying earlier, that these habits that you've been doing aren't working. And then you get frustrated enough finally to, okay, now I'm open, right? But moving forward with that, it almost feels like, okay, I'm going to try this avenue because I don't want to look over here, right? And then when this shift occurs, it's like it switches, and now I've been moving into the transition, really feeling the fear, but there's something stronger in it as I'm moving forward, and that seems to pull me through. I'm no longer moving from a place of avoidance. It's okay, I'm going to go, I'm doing this now. I'm terrified as I'm doing it, but there's something stronger in that pulling me forward. And that is, from my belief, that is truly our soul's calling, our spirit, or, our self-worth, our strength, our power, as, Satomi put it. So that's been my experience with the process, is that as soon as that shift happens, I'm moving into a different space. And it's almost like I can, what I've noticed is if I'm going into, let's say, a healing session, and I'm moving into this energy of this session's going to be fabulous, it's going to fix everything, it's going to be the be all end all. It's almost like I'm moving into that expecting this to fix something I'm not willing to look at, right? But when that shift happens, it's like I'm moving into it from a place of, peace, and this will shift what it needs to. It's not the be all end all. However, it's part of the journey. It's like it's a different energy behind it that I've noticed as I'm moving forward in my own healing journey, right? It's really moving into that concept of this is a journey. There is no, this is going to fix everything. But the funny catch-22 is that the more I move into that space of just, this is all a journey, it feels like the faster and quicker things heal, and the quicker the shifts happen that I wanted to happen, beforehand, with this anticipation of this session is going to be it. It's going to fix, absolutely everything. So, yeah.
So it sounds like when you go to a session and then you have expectation for them to fix everything.
Yes.
Like that you closing the door of your own journey. I'm not dealing with it. They're going to fix me.
Yes.
So I don't have to deal with it. So you're skipping the important part of that. You're trying to skip the part of that you have to go through to grow. And so it's not using your power. And that is not a real lesson that you have to go through. You're just cheating.
You want to cheat. It doesn't really work though.
And you might feel better temporarily, but the lesson's going to come back because you didn't take the lesson, right?
Yes.
But if you are embracing all the things that pain, not like reliving again, but embracing and then accepting and facing. And then you are taking a lesson and you using your own power, you using your own energy to go through the lesson so you can grow. That's why you feel like you feel empowered, right? Instead of
Right.
they are fixing me and you're not using your power. That's not how you grow, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that if you're looking for a magic pill solution,
Mm-hmm.
right, for somebody to come in and fix
Mm-hmm.
it and do the work for you,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to experience what Anna was saying. You're not going to feel that true self coming. That's I'm going to call it that, or your authentic self coming through, that core, that strong core. That's that's um, that's really what you're meant to connect with. Really, that's our perspective. Is that we're
Right.
actually our job here is to connect with our authentic self and bring that
Yes.
forward. To the degree that we're not doing that is how we end up creating pain and suffering in our life. And if we're trying to fix the suffering and the pain by having somebody come in and wave a magic wand or hand us a magic pill, do the work for us, we're not going to connect to our authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not going to be able to learn from that situation and really do what our spirit is calling us to do.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we actually do it? Is like there's courage involved. There's facing it. There's seeing the opportunity in the situation. For me, there's seeing the opportunity. There's the courage of facing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like sometimes it's a crazy thing to go with that courage because we've spent so much time and energy disempowering ourselves and saying, telling ourselves we're not able to deal with this in one way or another. And we're trying to just push it away and have it go away, right? Just have all the problems go away, right? Just push away. And then now we're looking at it possibly, hopefully in a different way where we're actually facing it, actually seeing the connections, and then actually using the courage to go into it and to work with it and to learn the lesson, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Anna's talking about, is that core, that drive towards you. What would you, if you were to put that into some kind of description, what would you say that core is? What is driving you towards it, Anna? Your spirit. You're saying your spirit calling. Does that capture it, or is there something?
It is, and I did, I did ponder this before our session today. But I think what it comes down to is self-worth. It's when we build that and strengthen that within ourselves. It's almost like the old habits or the old way of doing things are no longer resonating with us, but from a place of empowerment and self-worth, because we know if I continue to do this, if I don't move through this, I know where I'm going to end up. And that isn't, that isn't good enough for me anymore. I want something more. I want something greater than that. And so when we take those initial steps to build up our self-worth, it's like, no, I don't want to go down that road anymore. I'm terrified still to go down this road, but I'm worth it. Like, it's there, that strong piece is that self-power, that self-worth piece, that, you know what, I've, done many things in my life and I can do this. And this path over here, not that I'm better than that, but it's in a sense, I want something more. I want, I'm worth more. It's time to experience, something else. And for me, that's what I've noticed, is that it's this huge, self-empowerment, self-worth piece to to move me in the direction that sometimes terrifies me, but inevitably always moves me to that place that I really want to be and have the experiences that I really want to experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whoops, wrong one. So it's like maybe we can pick some situations so audience can picture the situation a little better. Some people can, I know, totally understand what we're talking about, but that can be very abstract, right? So, like we can say the job opportunity, right? You have this job, but and then you don't really enjoy it. Lots of people scared to change, and but you've been thinking, I don't want to keep doing this job, but you're doing this for last 10 years, thinking that you don't like this job, right? And then but the fear is keeping you in this one, and but you have stress, and then you're having some physical issue now because of the stress, but you're still staying here because of the fear, right? And then how you can shift and changing, look into changing the job that you might get paid a little bit less, right? Those things, but you can. There's a big fear changing because you've been working for the same one for maybe 20 years, and you haven't done this for since you were a teenager, right? And then there's going to be a fear, and then you listen to the fear, and then you listen to this opportunity, something might you might gain, right? You can listen to both, and and then you're talking about it in a different topic, but maybe you can list up some stuff, fear, what kind of fear you have, right? And what kind of opportunity you you gain, what kind of things you might be able to gain from changing jobs, right? And you can just list up both pros and cons, right? And then fear, it's loud usually, right? It's loud and they, no, you can't do it. But when you hear you can't, that is just solid fear, right? Stopping you from moving forward. It's just based on what, right?
Right.
You haven't done it. Well, how come you're saying you can't, right? You gotta do it to find out if you can do it or not, right? So if you hear in the words, no, I can't, that's just pure fear stopping you. Then you want to, okay, this is a fear. It's not the logical reason. It's not legitimate. Again, I can't say it, but it's not like you shouldn't put the value into that, the words, the voice. I can't,
Right.
because it's just fear, right? It's a subconscious fear. So okay, so this is not really, I shouldn't count this one, even if it's so loud. You don't need to ignore it, but you just acknowledge it and it's there, but that's, I shouldn't count, right? What, and then you look at this, a new opportunity, what you feel, it's very, usually the voice is very quiet compared to fear, right? It's very quiet, very settled because it's peaceful, right? It's so calm, and that's the real power, right? Calm and peace, and it's quiet, so you don't hear it until you really focus and listen, right? So you want to practice those things, and loud one doesn't mean it's important, right? So you want to list up maybe that's something that people can do. And then the more you listen to this calm, peaceful voice, the more you find out your power, and the more you connect to your power, right?
Right.
Instead of listening to this loud one that always running, that's not what you want to pay attention to. The voice you want to pay attention is that this very quiet one. That's why it's so tricky for
Right.
people.
I completely agree with both of you. For like with what you're saying as the example. So if you take yourself and you put yourself for a moment in that position of, okay, I'm doing a new job, right? This new job that I want to do, it's exciting. It's I can express my creativity more. I can have more say in what I do on a daily basis. I can have I can help people more in this job, right, and that kind of thing. So and then take yourself into the feeling of it, right, and then so have some connection to the feeling, not just the other aspects of it.
Logical aspect.
Yeah, not the logical side of it, but just the feeling that goes along with it. And then if you then focus on the reasons not to, and what if you stay with your current job, and you list the feeling or list the reasons for being there and that kind of thing, and then there's the logical side, and then put that aside and then connect to the feeling of it again, of that one, right? And then notice whether what the feeling is in both of them. Is one of them empowering and one of them disempowering? And to me, that makes the decision.
But
So-
if you have to get over the fear of changing, right?
Yeah.
That is there too.
Yeah.
So you have to separate going this new job direction. There's gonna be fear going into
For sure.
that,
Yeah.
right? So you want to not look in. So lots of people would feel the fear from changing job too.
Yeah.
So you want to separate that.
Yeah.
And so that's a simply unknown fear of unknown, right? That is not really you don't want to put much value into fear of unknown. Every day is next day it's unknown, right? So until you do it, so you can put that aside, fear of unknown, and then going into the different feeling about the new job, right? So,
But I mean, there's also like there's a connection, very strong connection to self-worth in there as well, like Anna's saying, right? So it's like the safe paycheck, right, job, the current one that you know more about, the kind of the devil that you know, right? Is there what is that doing to your self-worth in the end? Are you taking that option simply because of the security? And what does that security cost you, right? Does it cost you your self-respect? Does it cost you your sense of purpose in life, right? Those kinds of things are directly related to your self-worth, right? And if the current way of doing things undermines your self-worth, it's not a long-term strategy, right? It's not going to be the thing for you. Maybe it's been okay up till now, and maybe it's been okay. Maybe it'll be okay for the next month or even 6 months if that's what's needed, right? Whatever the case is. But if you can find an option that for a career that fulfills your self-worth, then that's empowering to you, And that's going to be connected to your purpose in life, right? That's going to be what sustains you for the long haul, because a career is going to be a long haul, right? And I've done that. I've been in that position where I've been making the choice between doing the tried and true, the devil that I know, versus taking a risk, right? And taking the risk, it ain't easy, right? It does have those cons, right? However, the at a deeper level, having that connection to self-worth, to purpose, and all those things, it that matters more. It's like kids, right? There's great things about kids, and there's a lot of work. But in the end, there's a purpose to it, right? There's a sense of purpose. There's a sense of giving. There's a sense of connection to your reason for being here, and the self-worth that you get from giving, right? Because there's enormous psychological benefit and reward from giving, because that's what you do with kids. You're just giving and giving and giving, right? And then that outweighs all of those negatives, because they cost a lot of money. They cost you a lot of time, a lot of sleepless nights, and you get all those colds that they're getting. There's snuffly noses and everything, right? And there's a whole lot of crazy crying for no real reason. There's a lot of stuff like that, but that doesn't matter in the end. Those are logical reasons, those things, right? I enjoy getting good sleep, so that's that's a pro with staying with the things as they are, right? But so you can list those logical reasons, and they're great, but the feeling underneath is what I think it matters more, right? In the end, that's what's going to matter more to you. And having that self-worth of feeling like, I like being a dad. I like it, right? It has a connection to purpose and my self-worth, and I enjoy giving. I enjoy, I'm more than receiving. I just do, right? So
I'm just going to challenge you, like giving and receiving again. So when you're giving, you think you are giving, but because you are receiving,
yes,
and I just don't forget that you're receiving at the same time. So it's like I'm giving one.
Well, I mean, we talked about this before at length, and I understand, fully understand that now.
Just reminding you.
Yeah.
So you can go that way.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. But I'm talking about that, right? Because that giving has that. What I'm getting out of it is that connection, that worth, that purpose, that there's a joy just simply in doing that, right? And that's what I'm getting when I'm doing it. So it's like
you are. It's like a thank you for allowing me to do this for you, that situation, right? But anyway, that's not what I was going to do. I was going to say, but you saying that the logical reason why you need to stay, or why you maybe want to change the job, put those logical reason aside. You saying that is a big deal.
It is.
Because everything, like years ago, everything we have to be logically explained and logically valued, and this is more important. Anything other than logical doesn't count, right? And I'm coming in and I want to do this, and why? It doesn't make sense. Why you think you do it? Why you want to do it? It just doesn't make sense, and it's not gonna work. And it's not happening.
Yeah.
Well, I want to do it. I can feel it. I can feel I want to do it. And why? Can you explain why? And no, I cannot explain. I'm just feeling it. Right. So those are the conversations years ago. And now he's saying like a logical, put those aside.
There's a perfect example. I mean, this is a good point to talk about is that, I mean, at the time we were trying to grow our YouTube channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were putting so much energy into it, and with everything else that's going on, and then you wanted to start a second YouTube channel that was just yours, right? Doing other stuff, right, on the side, right? And I'm like, wait a minute, we don't have time to do the stuff that we're doing now, right? And that's probably what you're talking about here, right? And I was like, no, it doesn't. Logically, it makes no sense. So I was against it at first, right?
Yeah.
But then I stepped back and I thought about it, and it's like, wait a minute, okay, so I know you, right? And if your heart is not being satisfied, if you're not feeling it at that deeper level, then you're not going to be part of it. So if there's something missing from what we're doing already, and you're feeling this need to do something else as well, it's going to, if you don't do that, then it's going to detract from this, from our main YouTube channel, right? You're not going to be, your heart's not going to be in it, and you're not going to bring. Maybe we'll do less, right? This is what I thought, right? Okay, so maybe we'll do fewer videos, right? Okay, but when you're doing them, your heart's going to be in it, and they're going to be better, right? And in the end, it's going to be better, and you're going to be lighter hearted about everything. And I can find some way to be more efficient, to accommodate, and we can somehow it'll work out, right? So in the end, I looked at it that way, and was like, wait a minute, okay. So yes, I had to shift out of the logical. I had to shift out of the logical and into the feeling of it, and that was not easy. You're right.
It wasn't
totally not
easy. It wasn't like so it took months. First I brought up, and this was like a 200% no, right? And okay, this is no way that I can talk to him into this one, right? So I waited, but while I'm waiting, right, not waiting.
So my fear in this case, I'll just point that out here to connect it to what we're saying about this fear and what makes us go forward, is my fear was there wouldn't be enough time to do our YouTube channel, and we're going to lose
other
audience,
business,
and our business is going to suffer, all this kind of stuff. So that's my fear, and so I was like, no, right. So then
so I put that idea aside. Okay, it's a no. It's a strong no, and then I didn't feel like doing it without him saying yes, right? So I put that aside, but while I'm putting that aside, that feeling, it was getting bigger and bigger. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. It's getting louder and louder and louder. And I'm looking at him, and how am I going to say this? And a few months passed, and then it was just so big, and I can't hold this back anymore. And I'm going to talk to him. And I brought it back, and he wasn't still happy like that. He wasn't like that. Already changed, and then out of logic thinking, no, he was still thinking logically. And why you think you have time to do this? We don't have enough time to do all the stuff already. We need more time, and you're gonna do this and adding this, and how we can manage all the rest, right? And I can manage it. I know how to manage it. I want to do it, right? And it was like getting into kind of argument. And at the end, he kind of gave up, right? Okay, do whatever you want, kind of thing. And then, okay, I'm going to take that one. You said yes. Okay, I can do it, right? I wasn't happy, yes, but I'll take it. And so I started doing it. And then after that, he was kind of upset and not happy, but he started going in deeper, and then realized that I'm receiving something intuitively, and then connecting, and then at the end, just long story short, he trusted the process. She's trusted.
Yeah, and
Right.
so what also comes out of that is that before this happened,
Mm-hmm.
we were filming videos on and editing them,
Mm-hmm.
doing heavy editing,
Mm-hmm.
and then putting them up.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're doing ether,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's live, so it's like this is it, folks. So there's no editing. So we found a way.
Mm-hmm.
A way was found
Mm-hmm.
to deal with the logical stuff
Mm-hmm.
that had to be something that gave, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're still making videos, but we're just doing them live now. No
Mhm.
editing. They're just there. They're going to be what they are.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people understand that. That's cool. It's right. That's the way.
Mhm.
It doesn't need to be a perfect video,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so and that's part of, and that in the end became part of my a learning opportunity for me. So there's an opportunity there for me in underneath that fear. There's an
Mhm.
opportunity for me to be more free flowing, more relaxed, and just be comfortable in front of the camera, right?
Mhm.
Whereas before, even just like on a controlled film and that we edit later, I was terrified, right?
Like, so many takes.
Yes.
So 5 minutes
Oh my God.
video. Like if I'm just doing a video, I'll do a couple of times. Oh, this is good enough.
Yeah.
I started a little bit, but it's good enough. I'll finish it. Right? It's like, okay, one more time. Okay, one more time. Oh, I made a mistake. One more time. Just go over and over and over.
Yeah.
Right? And that, like me presenting extra stuff to do, that kind of forced him to let go of perfectionist,
Mhm.
right? That he had fear of letting go of that
Mhm.
perfection, that
Mhm.
everything had to be perfect.
Mhm.
But me bringing into squeezing more stuff into our life, he had to make a space, right? So he had to let go of the perfection, so everything fits. Right? So that's
Yeah.
So there's always behind the fear, there's a learning
Yeah.
opportunity.
So there's that was a problem for me because you wanted to do this, but it was actually an opportunity for me,
Mhm.
right? And what happened with you is, like I was saying, is that since you were able to have an outlet for your
Mhm.
other creativity that's not kind of related to what we do for our
Because
business.
with you, it's like
Yes.
all limited.
Yeah.
Square. So to me, you have to fit in this square space.
There's no way to fit you into a square. That doesn't happen. So that then you're able to come to this and be your full healthy happy self,
Mhm.
and enjoy what we're doing here because you have an outlet for your other
Yeah.
things that you're doing, right? So you're able to maintain a balance and be true to yourself.
Mhm.
And I'm now able to be more true to myself
Mhm.
because I can just be here and be natural, right? And just be normal, right? Whatever, right? So it's the stuff is unexpected how it happens.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
Life came in and forced me to make a change.
Satomi.
But I suspect that you had been asking for that change deep down for a while.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was. I didn't know what it meant.
Yes.
And I got a whole bundle of change. It's so funny. So have you had like an experience, Anna, where you've been facing that fear and then worked through it? Is there as an example from your life that connects to what we're saying here?
Well, big time. And it actually comes back to my present situation. And, though it's no coincidence, the synchronicity that you brought up work, because it was the same, like my situation changed and I went from not needing to work to suddenly now being the sole supporter. And my old belief system, my old paradigm, well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to get a job and I'm going to do it this way. But it didn't resonate with me anymore. It made my whole body sink and shrivel. And my other option was doing my own business. Well, you come back to that safety security piece, well, getting a job, I know the paychecks will be consistent. Whereas my own business, that takes time. And I don't know, I'm not going to necessarily get, you are if you move your mindset to it. But, that old paradigm is like, there's no consistent paycheck in that. And, but again, it's moving. I know I've experienced that job that doesn't fulfill my soul. I know where I end up there. And that self-worth piece within me, that it wasn't a possibility for me anymore. And I had moved into a space where I want to do something that benefits, myself, and I want to give. And I know how to, my own business is how my soul was saying that I can go about doing that. And so it was, essentially jumping in with 2 feet, the whole body, the whole heart, everything into the business side of things. And coincidentally, what was really interesting in all of this is I also applied for jobs at the same time. And none of them came into fruition. And instead of looking at it like, oh my goodness, I'm failing because I can't get a job, it was the universe is supporting me in my business because none of these are working out. And I saw it as a message that, no, you're meant to go down this path. This is why these aren't going to manifest for you, because you're meant to go down this path. And so it's, jumping in with 2 feet on that. And one of the, as you guys I was listening to your beautiful story and you talk, is that fear that comes up, it's not something that, as we had talked before, that should be negated. It is a voice that needs to be heard and listened to as well. And one of the processes that really has been helping me along this journey is worst case scenario. What is my fear afraid of? Right? If I don't get a job, if I don't get the paycheck, me and my girls are going to lose the house. We're going to end up on the street. We're going to be, homeless on the street, and we're going to lose everything. And I wrote that all down, and then I looked at it and I said, is this actually true? And I said, well, no. I have a beautiful support network of people. Even if I do lose the house, no one is going to let me be on the street. And it started to shift I became less afraid of it took the power away from that fear. Would I like to be homeless and, couch sitting for a while? No. But is that as scary as the fear that came up said it would be? And do I actually know that if I took the business side, path, that would be the end result, that I would lose the house? No, I don't know that either. I don't know the future, right? And so it detangled the fear story for me and allowed me to move more into that piece, as Satomi was, saying, and take that path that fueled my soul.
Mm-hmm.
So you actually did writing the thing I was saying.
Yes. And then asking, like, is this actually true? Do you know this for 100%? And also realizing, like I said, that my mind, the fear, is going to go to the absolute worst case scenario, which is typically, on the streets, death kind of, that's where it goes. It's very black and white. And just asking, is this true? And when I went through it, I was like, no, first off, I don't know that will actually happen. And B, no, I'm not. I'm not going to die out on the streets, with my girls. That's even if the worst case scenario happened, that's not going to happen, right? It shifted that big time and helped me move through that fear in that moment.
It's very powerful facing the fear, right? on the face, right? Instead of,
Yes.
oh, this fear, so I gotta avoid this. That's what people do, right? Face the fear and what is it, right? And then that's what you did. You wrote down and then you ask question, right?
Yes.
Is this true? And
Is
is
it
this
real?
real?
Is that
Is it
fear? Is it a real
real,
thing?
right? Or like a worst case scenario, yeah. There's always worst case scenario, but it's scenario, right?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
the story that you're making up, that story that hasn't happened, right? Maybe not, most of the time it's not going to happen, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
writing up the story like you're writing that movie, right? So it's worst case scenario is a scenario. It's not something that's going to happen, right? So you face that fear and then you ask yourself, and then some shift can happen, right? Like it happens to you, and so it's really powerful. Just have a little courage to face the fear and ask yourself instead of this is true, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And for like, I'll just bring up one other example. I know we're past time here, but I'd like to bring a different aspect of this conversation, that is faith, right? For me, it's not, faith isn't what people would, the way people tend to think of it is like kind of blind faith, right? And for me, it's not like that. It's more of a trust that builds as you gain experience with trying little things, trying little changes, and seeing what really happens. Because you're, like you're saying, Anna, your worst, that catastrophic thinking or that worst case scenario fear always comes up and says, no, you can't do that because a disaster could happen, right? Well, when you challenge that and make some shift in your life, you can learn that the bottom didn't fall out of your life when you made that little change, right?
Right.
And so what you're gaining is an experience that, oh, wait a minute, it's not that the worst case scenario always happens. Not for me with the PTSD. Oh my God, that voice is so loud, right? It's like everything is a possible worst case scenario, right?
Right.
That's what it's like when in PTSD. Every moment, from one moment to the next. But I did manage to build up some trust that the bottom wouldn't fall out of my life when I made a little change, right? And one example, like we're doing subconscious shift work, and we're using Sakaso in the early days. We're using it, and I'm thinking like, I'm gaining some experience that making these subconscious shifts, it doesn't result in disaster. But even then, I was facing one, or we're working on one where I was working on forgiveness and stuff like that for my family, right? And things that have happened in the past. And I remember getting into the position, doing the Psych K for it, and I was ready to make the change. It all made sense logically, all that kind of stuff. Even in that sense, logic wasn't pointing the other direction in that case. But still, like I got ready to do it, and just this overwhelming, like this, my body almost refused to go forward with the change, right? There was this so much emotion, like I couldn't keep the position. There's, for doing muscle testing, I couldn't maintain the position. I'd break down. I was just bawling my eyes out, all that kind of stuff, because I was, in that moment, I was facing the trauma, right? I was face to face with it, and I was going, and it was about to be let go of, and it just kind of rears right up and just like says, you're gonna, this is trauma. The bottom's gonna fall out of your life, right? But obviously not. It makes no sense. I've done this before so many times. It's a harmless activity, and yet there was that resistance right up to the last moment. And I was just crying, and I was like, I went to start, and then I had to stop and just sit down for a while and just let the emotion come through and work through it that way. Eventually, it took about 20 minutes or something for one of them, one of the worst ones, to actually do it, to actually just go through. This is a very simple procedure. And to actually do the testing for it, the muscle testing for it, and to do the shift. It just shouldn't take that long, but it took a long time in that case just to get myself there and to do it, right? And to because my body was like so terrified from all of the stuff that happened. It's very strange how that, but something in me was driving me forward. Like that's what we're talking about here. Something I knew that I needed to heal from this. I needed to heal that trauma. And yes, there's this, the fear is pushing against it and rearing its, terrifying face in front of me. But at the same time, I'm being pulled into this. There's something pulling me into this that I have a deep level need to move through this and to heal and to let go of all that old pain and all that negative things that happened in the past. And so what was it that was pulling me through? It's hard to put my finger on it, but there is an aspect of the self-worth does come into it, because trauma and everything I went through, I had zero self-worth in that world, in that old traumatized world. Nothing, right? Zero self-worth. Self-love, zero. I hated myself, right? All that kind of stuff. But something in me had enough. I was done, right? And I needed to move forward. So what was it that was pulling me through that situation? Because it was pretty traumatic. It was cathartic, right? I'm just going through some stuff here. And so I think there was a need to feel self-worth. There was a need for that self-love that was pulling me through. And you could also say very much that it was faith that was pulling me through, because, what faith do we have that one foot in front of the other, we're not going to step into the abyss, right? When we're stepping out into the unknown, what faith do we have? And to me, it's kind of like doing this healing work, and doing it repeatedly, like you're doing smaller ones, you're leading up to these bigger ones. It's like when the pond freezes over, your local pond in the winter, and you've had a cold spell, and maybe the ice is thick enough to step on, right? But you don't know, right? And so what do? Well, you throw a rock on it, right? And see if the rock goes through. That doesn't happen. So then you maybe you get a bigger rock and put that on there. Well, that doesn't go through. It seems to be sort of solid. So let's just reach out and put one foot on there, right? And bang on it, and then try to, put a little more weight on it and see if it starts to crack. And no, nothing's happening. So then you start to lean out, put a little more of your actual body weight onto there, and then you're shoving on it, and it's still not cracking. And then you eventually get to the point where you step out onto the ice, right? You have to, you want to go and play on the ice, but in that case, you need to feel that it's not going to fall out from underneath your feet, and you're going to end up, in the water, in the frozen water and freezing water. So, and then you get out there, and you're still testing the ice, and you're still. So at a certain point, it's not faith by blind faith of just like running out there and just like, I trust it's going to be like totally fine. It's not like that. It's more of an experience of testing and trying little things first, and then gaining more faith that it's going to support you. And then you actually use the courage to step out onto the ice and go out there. And so there's all of those things go into it. And I think there is that self-worth, that self-love, and that faith that comes into the picture that's pulling you in, as well as, what's pushing you away, which is the pain. Because that's the other side of it, is that you get sick of the pain, and you're done with it, right? And so those two things combined are helping you to actually face the fear.
Yeah. And also just one last thing, I know we're pushing, but like you were saying, testing the ice, right? And so that is actually one way. So you're making sure it's safe, right? The other thing, the fear is the fear is what if I fall, right? The other one, other way to let go of, it's gonna be okay because I'm having this wetsuit that it's gonna keep me warm enough to swim or something to come out of the ice.
Tie a
Right?
rope around your waist.
Yeah, so I have other options if ice broke and fell, and it's gonna be okay, right? So so then it's gonna open up your path instead of I have to be this, I have to be on the ice and all the time. Then you're limiting the path, right? Then you have to do lots of testing, but even if I fell through, it's going to be okay. If you have that experience and then you know it's going to be okay, you have the trust and somehow, right? Then it's not limiting your path, it's going to open. So those things, like so you want to be open instead of thinking one way, this is the only way, right? You having starting your own business, like some people have a specific way. You have to make this much money by doing this, right? You want to be open and welcoming any opportunity. You don't know, you just started, you don't know what's going to happen. Something new is for sure going to happen because you never done it, right? You have no idea, so you want to be open. It's not that old way of doing it's going to happen, so you have to be open for something that you don't know, unknown. Then your path is going to open, and then that's when I feel like the trust, right? I haven't done this, but I can feel that it's gonna be okay. Why? I don't know, but I've never done it. So some discovery is gonna happen. I'm gonna meet some new people that gonna support me, or something's gonna happen. That's why I'm feeling this, right? It's not gonna. I'm not going through this path the way I came through the old path. It's not that, so I cannot measure, right, the same way, and cannot test in the same way, but then just be open and trust myself, and I'm feeling it, and I want to value this feeling, and the feeling that I want to do it. I'm feeling a pull. I want to respect this feeling because this is my journey, right? And I'm the only one who can do this, right? So those ones, and just how you were talking about it, I just wanted to add, be open.
There's a discovery, there's a serendipitous aspect to this, right? It opens up possibilities. You never know where it's going to lead, right? So that can take you in a whole new direction in your life, right? But there's, like, I just want to add to, we've talked about intuition in the past. There's an element of intuition that comes along with that faith, right? There's some, they meet somewhere in there, and that is also a pull, right? That there's that feeling underneath all the logical stuff, you could say intuition too, right? You could say self-worth, you could say self-love, you could say faith, right? All those things. I think they all apply into it. Yeah. So, so that's I think a fantastic conversation about that. Did you want to add any more, Anna?
No, I think you guys said it all brilliantly in your journey and your experiences, and it's that same. It's that, be open, and if find those time or those. If you feel like you need a bit of a safety net moving forward, I think that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay as well, right? And helps build that. That faith and that trust experience moving forward as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just say here as well, if these things are difficult, right, for people, if it's hard to connect with faith, if it's hard to connect with self-worth, if it's hard to connect with your intuition, self-love, all those things, then it's probably because there's limiting subconscious beliefs coming into this, right? And you can schedule a breakthrough session with us, and you can we have our other services, our readings, and Anna, you have a wonderful offer that you're doing right now. You can do a free 20-minute soul reading with Anna at AwakenedYou.ca. So just check out that website. She's got great, beautiful services there. And we're going to, I think, end up continuing this, Anna.
I'm always game.
You're such a truth. You opened up a whole can of worms here.
Yes.
You never know where this stuff's going to lead, right?
Yes, exactly.
We're not just saying it, we're living it here. So yeah, absolutely. And so thanks everybody for stopping in and checking out Ether here, and we will see you next week at 4 p.m. Eastern. And bless you and take care.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.